Hi, so I'm going to do 10 minutes revision for chemistry. This is for the Combined Science Award for AQA. We do chemistry, we do 10 minutes, and what I want you to do is follow along and make these notes for yourself. And then if there's time, we're going to make them into revision cards. If not, that'll be another session, but we're going to have an A4 page of notes just covering crude oil, hydrocarbons, and alkanes. So I'm going to start now. So crude oil, hydrocarbons, and alkanes. Okay, so for a lot of this video, you're going to be seeing a bit at the top of my head while I write these down, but I want you to be writing the same thing at the same time. So crude oil, first thing we're going to be thinking about is what is it? I'm going to move myself over here while I write on this bit. So what is it? Okay, so crude oil is a finite resource. That means it's not renewable. So it's a finite resource. It's not renewable. We find it in rocks. And it comes from ancient biomass, so dead plants and things like that that have broken down um, and under a lot of pressure have created this crude oil that we can mine for and bring up and use for fuel. So what is in it? So a big clue here, something to remember, is that it's crude. And when something is crude, it means it hasn't been refined yet. It's just a mixture. It's the rough kind of just as we get it straight from the ground. So crude oil is, so the crude, it's not pure. So it's a mixture. It's a mixture of lots of compounds. And they are mainly hydrocarbons. So now we're talking about hydrocarbons, and we can see that we've got hydrocarbons up here in the title. So this here is going to relate directly to what hydrocarbons are. And in hydrocarbons, you can see hydro and carbon. I love my highlighters. I've got lots of colours of highlighters. So hydro, hydrogen, and carbon is carbon. So hydrocarbons are molecules So these are molecules that contain only hydrogen and carbon. And you're actually going to get a mark for giving this. Actually, this says molecules that, it's not very clear there, that contain only hydrogen and carbon. You might be asked that definition, and you're going to get a mark only if you say they contain hydrogen and carbon, but also this word only is really important for that mark because they only have hydrogen and carbon present in them. Okay, so crude oil is a mixture of many compounds and they are mainly hydrocarbons. And hydrocarbons are molecules that have got hydrogen and carbon in them only. So with that, we can think, okay, so what are the hydrocarbons that we have? So first of all, I want to have a little, just a quick think. I'm going to move me from here about carbon. So carbon, if you look on your periodic table, is in group 4. And if it's in group 4, that means it's got 4 electrons in its outer shell. In chemistry, all of these molecules, all of these atoms want to have 8 electrons in their outer shell to have a full outer shell. So it needs 4 more. So it can make 4 bonds. And that's important with carbon because it's going to make 4 bonds. And the very first type of hydrocarbon, the easiest hydrocarbon that we learn about are alkanes. They are a type of hydrocarbon. And they're a type of hydrocarbon where every carbon is saturated, which means all of these 4 bonds are used up and saturated with as many hydrogens as we can get there possibly. So, for example, let's have a look at some of these. So the first alkane has got 1 carbon, and that carbon, we have said, can make 4 bonds. So each of those bonds is going to bond that carbon to a hydrogen. So let's have a little look at this diagram in more detail. In this diagram, we have got these lines here. These represent bonds. This is a hydrogen, and here is a carbon. So when we draw it out like this, this is the displayed formula. Okay, so this is the very first alkane. It's got 1 carbon, 4 hydrogens, so it's CH4, and this is its molecular formula. And this is actually called methane. And you can see that it has this ane, A-N-E, and it is an alkane. So you can see it's got that same from the word alkane. The end of the name of this is ending in ane, and this is meth. And we need to know the first 4 alkanes, and they are methane, ethane, propane, and butane. 1, 2, 3, 4. And by the first 4, I mean how many carbons each of those has. So ethane has 2 carbons, and they're joined like this. And then what you have to do is put all the bonds in so that each of those carbons has got 4 bonds. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you fill the hydrogens around. So this one is ethane, and that is C2H6. We could draw propane. That is C3H. And you can see that actually the H's, there's the same number as carbons, doubled, because there's at the top and at the bottom, and then 1 on each end. So that is 3 plus 3 plus 2 more. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. H8 on there. And we could do the same for butane. Now do it small. Add them on. So that is C4H10. So we can see these molecular formulas are all related to each other, and there is actually a general formula to give you the formula of anything. So CNH2N plus 2. So the N can be any number, and this means, so say we had, let's just do C80 as a number, the number of hydrogens will be 2 times the any number plus 2 more. because you have to remember we've got one at each end to add. So this would be H, 2 times 80, 160, plus 2 more, 162. So we need to know our general formula. We've got 7 seconds. We're going to go slightly over because I want to say one more thing, that all of these are in what we call a series, because you can see they're getting one longer. So these are a series. And we give a name to that series. We call it a homologous. And that comes from the homo, this prefix homo means the same. So this is a homologous series. It's the same as we go down. We're just adding another carbon and the hydrogens associated with that, just getting one longer each time. So overall, we have got crude oil. We know it's a finite resource found in rocks from ancient biomass. It's made of a mixture of things, mainly hydrocarbons. It contains hydrocarbons which are made only of hydrogen and carbon. Alkanes are a type of hydrocarbon. The 4 alkanes we need to know are methane, ethane, propane and butane. And I always remember meth, eth, prop, bute, and then just stick ane on the end of all of them. And that is called the homologous series. And we've got our general formula for any alkane. So if we were given any number of carbons, we'd be able to calculate the number of hydrogens. Perfect. No time for revision cards this time, but we'll do that next time.